purchased more Lego.
I purchased one set, which I'm going to build real quick, and I'll explain and apologize. I think it is in the process of setting it up on live on YouTube now. All right, I got that. So now I've got an actual link that I can send to people. Do you know how to see that, or do you need me to paste that somewhere?
Are you putting it on Twitter or are you putting it on Mastodon? Or
I was actually just going to put it on the members Slack.
Oh, that's fine. I'll just do that.
But feel free to put it on whatever places you would be happy.
Am I happy? That's
well, you could be happy.
I mean, we all could be happy.
Well, some more than others.
It's like, oh, hi, we are live. Yeah. I should think about that when I.
Well, I mean, how's your soul doing?
Oh God. I mean, to be honest, I sold that a long time ago.
Oh.
So I hope it's very happy and is having a fulfilling life somewhere else.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's how that works.
I mean, I didn't read the small print, but
Robbie Rutherford says howdy. Robbie, hopefully you can hear Tony and James. Welcome to Sunday afternoon Lego building. Might be Sunday night for some people.
It's Sunday night for you. Me.
Yeah, it's solidly afternoon for me.
I feel that this program has your name on it. So this is, I think it should be in your, yes, this entertainment product, this content hashtag. Yes, I am merely the
sidekick,
comedy jester sidekick.
Oh no, Robbie ordered himself a Lego set, a castle set last night. Do I want to know which castle set you ordered, Robbie? So I have to start with a confession today. I had been avoiding buying any Lego sets by having the castle that was unfinished, and I think I've been doing excellent at that. And then a few days ago, I was in Target to get non-Lego related things, and I happened to pass through the Lego aisle. It's good just to know. I mean, I know what all the Star Wars sets are and the other sets I'd want, but sometimes it's nice to know what's available walking distance from my house in case there was like an emergency.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
You never know. And usually I feel like I have pretty good, it's like, well, I know what all the Lego sets are, so I'm not surprised by things. But unfortunately, this particular day, I was taken by surprise because like at an end cap, they had this new set, which is Boba Fett, kind of the Mandalorian era Boba Fett, his slightly different armor, and his ship, which they don't mention the name of it.
The non-specified.
Yeah, the non-specified starship. It was a $10 set, and I was like, that's really, yeah. So as kind of an intermission before I start the next half of the castle, I'm gonna build Boba Fett's ship real quick. And this is there's a bunch of these little sets. I think they put out one or two every year, and they're basically like a minifigure and a minifig and the smallest spaceship we can give you. Honestly, this one's more detailed than some of the other ones. I think I have a Y-wing and a snow speeder, and I don't know if I have a third, but they make a bunch of them, right? Like they have they have the Millennium Falcon, and it's not the Millennium Falcon,
and they're all
Han
like
Solo sitting on a thing that kind of looks like
yes, it's Falcon. Like a child's ride version of the ship.
Yes.
So at least this goes around the person. So it's
I would say this is the one that this one looks much more like the ship than any of the other ones. So I apologize to myself and to everyone I lied to. I bought a Lego set.
I mean, like, you didn't buy the castle. The castle was foisted upon you.
Well, foist is a strong word in a sense.
Like by well-meaning,
excitedly accepted by me. So I'll build this, and then I'll continue with the giant castle. And I reached last time the literal halfway point in the castle build where there's 2 instruction manuals, and I finished manual 1 and I'm on to manual 2. So,
well, I can demonstrate the impulse purchase that I made in the Lego
What did you
space.
impulse purchase?
Because it was reduced by £60. I have the Atari
Oh,
VCS console.
very
Um,
nice.
and I will demonstrate the fact that if you pull on the front of it, what you get is a little pop-up child's bedroom with a child playing a games console.
Nice.
And
you were that child at some point.
I was that child. I was that Lego child. I am the
Mhm.
same size as that Lego child. And I also now, as because of that, have all these little game cartridges which it comes with.
Mhm.
So build your Atari games cartridges. It was a nice set. It had too many stickers. There were many things in it where it said,
I imagine all the labels for all the games are stickers.
Yeah, the console itself is not stickers. It's printed, but all the other stuff is. Anyway, it was £60 off, and it felt rude not to.
Yeah, I mean that you know that would be an insult to somebody. I'm not sure who, but so Robbie got the Castle 3-in-1. I guess I should have guessed that because there aren't actually that many Castle sets right now. That set looks pretty cool. I have seen it. I think that, and there's, I don't know if it counts as a castle. I count it as castle adjacent. There's a set with like a Viking longboat kind of dealy that also looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm a little sad that Castle is like not part of the current lineup, I guess. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think all the people that bought your castle still haven't finished making it. So
I know Steven Scherpansky finished his real fast. So you know, it's one.
Yeah, well, he's like a professional Lego influencer or something. So
I guess, and you know, I'm not going for speed. I'm enjoying the journey. So
yeah, and it's like you just don't want to build it without me is really.
Yes. Well, I did set the thing where it's like, oh, this is an amazing gift that I received. I should share that with some people in some way. If I streamed it on the internet, would anyone show up? Hey, 10 people showed up right now. I appreciate that. You know, so you're here to hang out with me and James. I have so far had the benefit that I think I only did one short one of these solo, where it's, you know, my ability to just talk to a camera is by myself is low. So, you know.
Well, my ability to talk to a camera, even with other people there.
I mean, yeah, I guess my ability to talk to people it's not like it's high. It's just like medium. So. So James, tell me about the Atari set. I will admit you're a little bit older than me, and the Atari is not a thing that has a lot of nostalgia or I guess it has very little nostalgia in my life. I think I have an older brother who's 8 years older than me, and I believe he had an Atari, and it was the thing where like I think I saw one a little bit as a kid, but you know, I was like, I guess this is okay, but I was not. Whereas you know, the original NES came out, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. How do I get this? And there's even like a story that my parents like remind me about like constantly, where apparently I don't remember this, but apparently I went home and told them that the only that myself and my best friend, who I think was from a family that didn't I think he possibly some kind of strict religious upbringing, didn't have a lot of things, and he and I were the only people that did not have a Nintendo. I maintain that this may have been accurate to the suburb that I lived in as a small child. It may not have been. It's there's no way to know. But my parents then went out and bought a Nintendo, and they did not know like what this thing was. My mom did not understand that it was a thing that was like going to be attached to the TV, and like when it happened, my parents were like, oh no, this is not, we didn't understand.
Well,
you know, so
my history with the Atari VCS is I did not have one as a child. The first games console that I possessed was a Super Nintendo. On the other side, after the NES, I wanted one as a child. I didn't get one. So that's possibly why I wanted this one. I had a Commodore 64 in 83, and that was really my main entertainment thing. You know, because a computer, you can say, is educational.
Yes, there was a weird thing where basically after the NES, video games were not allowed in the household after that, but computers were educational. And you know, if computers allow you to play computer games, well, that's, you know, I mean, what can we do?
It's just a byproduct. I mean, I think I remember. Well, I don't remember, but again, like you, was reminded, you know, I said something along the lines of, if you buy me this, then, you know, I will become a great computer programmer.
I mean,
And
that
I will
honestly,
make a living at it.
honestly, you did pretty good on that compared to, I mean, I would have fallen well short of that.
I think the problem is I did also promise monetary reward down the line.
What was the the timeline on that? Did you sign anything?
I did sign something, and the paper was
Oh.
indeed found recently.
Oh wow. Well, I mean, as a minor, I don't think they can hold.
I don't think I could have
know.
legally entered into a contract that's binding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that I became. Well, no, that's not true. I was going to say I'm not sure I became a programmer because of my Commodore 64, because
it would have been an important, I imagine, formative moment of like.
I played a lot of games on it, but and I've told the story in a number of venues, but the Jeff Minter, who was a programmer of games for the Commodore 64 and still continues to make things, mostly featuring llamas, camels, and sheep as the main protagonists. There was a game called Revenge of the Mutant Camels.
I'm unfamiliar with this.
Well, I can hang on.
Do you have a cartridge for it? Either Lego based or legitimate cartridge of it?
As you may.
Okay.
So this is on tape inside here. But the thing with Revenge of the Mutant Camels is on the title screen when the game loaded, it said basically made by Jeff Minter, this one person who made it. And I was like, oh, you mean these things are made by people? And
by people.
One person by himself made this whole thing that I'm enjoying. And I was like, that sounds like I, as a person, could make things.
Sure, why not?
That was genuinely my inspiration for getting into programming, because I wanted to write games, which I didn't exactly do. But
should we count hidden help screens?
I mean, kind of. But this particular thing here is I decided a couple of weeks ago that I would, because I sold off my Commodore 64 and all its stuff many years ago, regretting it now, of course. Kids, never sell your childhood stuff. You will want it at some point when you're in your 40s or 50s.
Well, I don't
know. Store it in your parents' attic. They'll never find it. It'll be fine. But I saw a post saying that the Internet Archive had a collection of Commodore 64 stuff, but also had scans of all the inlays and manuals.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, I really love this game. So what I will do is I will print out the artwork for it, and I'll stick it on my wall as an indication of, this is the thing that inspired me.
Solidarity,
program. And I downloaded the inlay, and it was a really poor quality scan. It was covered in scratches and dust and faded and whatever. So I spent, let's say, 4 hours in Photoshop cleaning it up and doing a sort of photo restoration on it. And then discovered that some of the things that I had erased were in fact stars and not dust. So I then had to go and get those stars. But anyway, I did all this, and it turns out that Jeff Minter, the writer of said games, follows me on Mastodon.
Oh no. Well, or maybe, oh yes, I don't know.
And somebody tagged him in, because I posted it and said that I cleaned up the artwork. Somebody tagged him in it as well and said, oh, you should add this to the Llamasoft archives, because Llamasoft being the company. And he was like, oh, I don't have a copy of that in, good quality, whatever. I'd love that. So I sent him. I then spent another 2 hours making it better, because if it was going to
now someone cares. Yeah.
Now the person who actually made the game cares. So I will do a better job and add in a few more stars again. So I sent him the high res art of it, and he said something along the lines of, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
That's cool, or whatever. And I'm like, you inspired my entire programming career.
Yeah.
So.
You're welcome.
But then what I did was I thought, oh, I'll just print out the artwork and I'll put it in a cassette case. I'm sure I can find a cassette case somewhere in this flat. And then I remembered that the game wasn't in a standard like cassette thing. It's in this if I can angle that towards the camera, it's kind of like a
blister
added
pack kind of. Yeah, I feel like we had those for VHS tapes where some of them would be like, I don't know if there's a fancy name for it, but bigger and bulkier.
Yeah.
More plastic.
And then it was a case of, okay, where do I get one of those? Because those were not common. And so what I ended up doing was buying a slightly battered copy of the game.
So you can swap it in the...
So I then swapped cleaned as much as I could the 40 years of filth off the box, substituted the artwork with my restored copy printed out on my printer, and it actually looks really good, and it's sitting on my shelf as a trophy. It's not like I won.
You didn't kill him.
Not yet. But it was a kind of nice. A, I got the nice little interaction with the guy, and B, I have a thing on my shelf now.
Which, you have a thing on your shelf now.
And genuinely, it was the kind of thing that inspired me to do this kind of things that I do. So I feel it's, well, there it goes.
All right, I have built Boba Fett's fire spray, unnamed, in marketing anymore. Gunship. That was a nice little build. I have to say, for a $10 Lego set, pretty nice. Clearly, Boba Fett's ship. It's got the thing where he's facing forward. It does not, for a $10 set, have a rotating cockpit as some of the very fancy sets have. It's got your little fins. It's got little missiles that you could fire from the things. I even like they put little orange, repulsor jets on the back. So lovely little $10 set. So,
well, that can.
Now, James, I will say, on the topic of, I'm gonna try and multitask and open the next bag here. Getting rid of stuff. Oh, I just bumped everything. I am actually right now attempting to be productive with my unemployment time, and I am cleaning out stuff from my parents' attic and selling a bunch of stuff on eBay. And I don't know, it's tricky. I mean, I think especially I feel like stuff maybe from my 20s that it's like, I don't need this. I just posted a bunch of DVDs for $1 on eBay, and it's like, if somebody wants these, you're welcome to them. Basically, I basically just don't want them to go to the trash. If no one wants them, I'll probably give them to the library or something like that. But it's tricky about what one has nostalgia for and what one doesn't. And I don't know, I think like you, I live in a very small space, and so there's limits to how much I can surround myself with stuff. And I feel like I have already surrounded myself with stuff, and so now it's time to be like, okay, which stuff brings me joy, for lack of a better word, and which stuff is perhaps it's time to move on.
There's certainly things that I got rid of or were got rid of for me.
Yes, that's the big one. Yeah.
Which I am sad that I do not have. One was, I had quite a large collection of the Imagine magazine, which was TSR's. I don't know if it was TSR UK specifically or if it was TSR generally, but it was like the Dungeons and Dragons magazine, the officially licensed TSR thing. And I loved that magazine, and all of those got sent away, apart from one which I found in very trash condition in the attic. But all the good quality ones went. Those I miss. Things that I found, like when going, because I did this same thing of going through the attic and doing the kind of, I threw away several bin bags full of magazines, like old Commodore 64 magazines and things from back then. And I kept a few things, but I got rid of a lot of it because it was like, I do not need a copy of your Commodore from 1985 or whatever. I'm not going to get back to it.
And it's, my family moved around a decent amount, and I am one of 5 siblings. So like the attic has like these weird like geological cross layers of like, here's one sibling stuff, and here's like one sibling stuff that like was clearly like, they went to college, and this is the stuff that they didn't want to take to college, but they didn't want to take with them. And here's somebody else's stuff from when they, moved back from their first apartment. And and here's a bunch of stuff from somebody else's middle school. And there it is, I don't know. I was thinking because there's a new Ninja Turtles movie coming out, and it's sad that I don't have any Ninja Turtle stuff because my mom threw it out several moves ago because in her words, they were ugly. And you know what? The Ninja Turtle toys, they were pretty ugly. And it's one of those like, it would have been nice to have one. Did I need a giant box of them? Not really. And I have a giant box of Star Wars action figures from the 90s, which were not the original ones from the movies, but like well, they were produced in bulk back then also too. But the Kenner relaunch ones, which had these really weird, like I remember like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker have like a He-Man-esque build to them. Which, yeah. And it's like, maybe I want one or two of those, but I don't need 40.
I mean, I will say if I rooted around under this desk, I would find the box that has the sealed Phantom Menace action figures that I bought.
That's going to pay for your college education.
No, I looked it up. They basically have they have held the value that I paid for them in 1999.
And that's the thing. I think that there's some people who, I think it is very hard to make any money off collecting stuff. And a lot of that is based on fake stuff. And, the average comic book is worth less than the cover price of it, because people have stacks and stacks of them and actually nobody else wants them. But yeah.
I think there is some kind of time period. I'm sure if you plotted the prices of these things on eBay over time, you would see it's about, I don't know, whenever people hit their midlife crisis, and want the thing from their childhood to make them feel special again.
Either the thing they had that they no longer have, or perhaps even slightly more valuable, the thing they wish they had that they didn't have. Yeah.
And that's where the peak is, and then it comes down again. Because like I actually looked for the Revenge of the Mutant Camels in good condition, working as a tape on eBay. Somebody was asking £250 for it.
Wow.
And I'm like, I am not prepared to pay that. However, I will snipe in and get a £5 beaten up copy.
Sure.
That kind of makes my that's my threshold. I mean, like that I had that with the Lego Galaxy Explorer, where when I was going up to my parents' attic, one of the reasons I was doing it was to find all my old space Lego. And I went through the space Lego and I was trying to find all the bricks for the Galaxy Explorer, which I had as a child, and I just couldn't find them. And I eventually got frustrated and I bought the thing off eBay. And as I sat there building the Galaxy Explorer, I realized that I'd never had the Galaxy Explorer.
Oh, no.
It was like I had this planted fake memory of owning this thing. I had
from your many dreams you had as a child of owning it.
I had the very little one, that the again, it's I can't reach it, but it's on. Oh no, it's in the living room. But I had the smallest of the space ships. I didn't even have the middle one, and so and that was what spiraled into me buying every single bit of classic space Lego that was ever produced.
So your collection, and for those who don't know, James has all of the space Legos from a certain era up until the space people had visors is the key delineation. And you have what, 20 or 30 sets?
No, it's about 73
sets. Okay, from the basically 70s into early 80s kind of era.
78 to 87. Okay. Now let me see if I don't know.
And are any of those sets things that you had owned, or that are any of them the set that you owned as a child? Or
so the small spaceship and probably maybe like half a dozen, maybe more.
So some of them they're not all replacements.
No. So I don't know if this is going to work as a camera thing, but I'm going to hold this up to the camera. That
is James's entire set, which I've seen before, but
yes, you get the idea that there are
a lot of them,
a lot of ships, and yes, some ships. Of the earlier ones are definitely mine, but there was only like one day where all those ships were arranged on that
They're
table
not,
like
you
that.
don't have the kind of space where you just leave a table full of spaceships ready to go in your office at any moment.
Well, I mean, there is currently in the living room, there is the 3 classic space ships, the sort of the small, medium, and large, with the large being the Galaxy Explorer, and then the modern Galaxy Explorer next to that, which is 1.5 times the size of the biggest. So I've got those 4 ships are on display, and the rest, there is some space Lego up on a high shelf, but there's nothing out on display, and most of it is disassembled in labeled bags in a big tub under my desk. But yeah, that was a kind of, I think that was a midlife crisis project.
Was it? Okay. I don't think I have any of those yet. I don't know. I'm trying to.
No, I mean, I think you've got a while to go.
All right, good.
I mean, so, not long, but a while.
I should start saving now. So
I mean, like, it was cheaper than a sports car or a divorce.
Yeah, well, that's the spirit.
I did spend something like £3,000 to £4,000 sourcing all the bricks, basically, because I started by buying like non-complete sets, you know, by weight, you know, so you could buy space Lego by the kilogram, and then I would work out what I'd got and then keep going. And then it would get back to, like, I need this one antenna that was only produced for this small number of sets that now cost like £30 per antenna. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, because they were also delicate, much like the spacemen helmets.
So they haven't held up.
So,
I know some people that will, for certain not for your mainline pieces, of course, but some people, if it's a weird specialty piece, will 3D print it up. You know, but yeah, I guess that's, for some people that would be completely unacceptable.
I mean, it'd be. I don't want to get into 3D printing because that seems like it's a vast spiral of money and time.
You know, there was a time before Total Party Kill, if you can believe it, where I was running lots of D&D, but it was all in person. D&D played with miniatures, and especially D&D 4th edition was very map oriented. You really, like, the idea was that it was built around having a tactical map, and where you were relative to things was very, very built into the game. And some people like that. I will say I had a bunch of players who were very into that, but I have pins and pins of miniatures at that time. Let's not think about how much I spent on miniatures back then, but because having miniatures for all the player characters and for NPCs and all the different monsters you might fight was, I don't know, people like that, right? And it was like a big deal to be like, oh, here's the big bad, and it's a big scary monster miniature that they haven't seen before. You know, players reacted to that versus you know, here's the same skeleton miniature you've seen every time. Pretend it's a goblin now, please. You know, I'm not saying you can't do that. And lots of people I did when I was starting out. I used little just paper circles. Then I went to paper circles with things printed on them, and I spent a lot of time photoshopping stuff. But you know, people like stuff. And some people respond very strongly to visuals. So
I think the problem I had with miniatures, and I did have like, I never played any of the Warhammer 40k stuff, but I did have a bunch of like Space Marines and things just because they were cool character designs.
They were cool character designs, yeah.
And I actually don't know where they are. Maybe they've gone to the great skip in the sky somewhere, but or they're hiding in an attic. But that's
a word that we don't have over here. That I looked up because it was in a Taskmaster challenge, and I was like, what the heck are they talking about?
What is a skip?
What is a skip? I guess I would call a skip. Well, okay, here's an actual, I don't know. Does a skip have a specific definition? Like, is a skip a dumpster versus a bin or something like that? To me, it's like, I looked it up because there was a Taskmaster challenge about they had to find something that, you know, that would be from a skip or something like that. And
a skip has a very specific shape, I would say here. It does not have a top on it. and it is a thing that a lorry comes along and drops one off. You fill it full of building materials or whatever you're trying to get rid of, and then the same lorry comes and picks up.
Okay.
So
again. And maybe this is not a word that they use, and I don't, things are not always one for one, but I would call that a dumpster here. And dumpsters come in a few different sizes, but as somebody who's worked jobs, for example, a dumpster is not something you would have at your home, but a business would have a big dumpster out back, and maybe they have one for recycling and they have one for general refuse. And I have a very permanent memory burned into my brain of my first day working at I worked for a camera store, and I started out in the behind the scenes part of the store, like unloading and loading trucks, and the camera store did custom framing. That was a big lucrative thing, where for photos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you do when you do custom framing is you have lots and lots of glass. And I was presented with a trash barrel, a large trash barrel, not like a waste-based basket or something like that, but a big heavy-duty trash barrel full of broken glass, which is very heavy. And I was told, put this in the dumpster. And I went out a door I'd never gone out before and saw a dumpster and put it in the dumpster, but I put it all in the cardboard dumpster. And I was presented with and it was like a June day in New England. It was hot. I was wearing relatively nice clothing for my first day at a job that was probably not appropriate, too nice for the work that I was doing, which was basically warehouse work. And I was given a snow shovel and told, climb into the dumpster and shovel all the broken glass out of the dumpster back into the trash barrel to then take it to the correct dumpster.
I mean, that
is a dumpster a skip?
I mean, I think I associate skips with kind of like, you are not somebody who normally has to deal with a high volume of materials, but you have a very specific need, be it you are clearing out a building or something like that. So you have to get the relevant permission, and then one will be dropped on your street, and then somebody will.
A skip might be a specific type of dumpster. Do you have the word dumpster? Is that a word that you have?
I think like it's certainly a known word over here, but I usually associate it with the word fire, and also in reference to like American politics or whatever.
Yes, that's us. All right, we're not. This is not an episode of Pants in the Boot, which, if people have not listened, is a lovely podcast on the Incomparable Network, where Glenn Fleischman collects people who nominally all speak the same language, but and yet don't, from the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, Scotland, Ireland, etc., and talk about things where there are regional differences for words and whatnot. But let me ask you this then. So you're in Glasgow, and you've enjoyed a nice curry, and you're walking down the alley behind the restaurant, and there is a large refuse for trash. And what is that refuse called / what is it, or what is that receptacle called / what does it look like?
So I would call that a bin.
Okay, it's a bin.
And you can get bins, like I have a bin in my office, which is a thing that looks like what you have at the end of your dock in your on your Mac.
Okay. That dock. It's like
this.
We call it a.
He holds up his.
Yes. We call that a waste paper bin.
And
James, some operating systems are a little bit more greed, and they have a recycling bin instead of just a bin.
Well, that was the thing back in the day. The Mac OS, it was trash in the US, and it was wastebasket in the UK, which was not a term that was used in the UK to describe the thing that. But anyway, that's what it was.
That thing. Okay.
And then the UK localizations went away for a long time, and they just recently came back. But now we have a bin. So instead of the wastebasket, we have bin, which is accurate. But I happen to know that got put in there because there are Australians, or at least one Australian, who infiltrated that team. And I know the Australian localization got bin the year before the UK did. But anyway. But I would call all of ththose things bins.
You would call all those things bins. So
Um,
I would say, I feel like, we would call, I think you might call, well, I don't know. I think some people would call a bin as just a generic name for a trash or recycling receptacle. I think, some people would call a trash can. And I will tell you, here at least in the region of the country that I live in, at one point our trash cans were big, kind of plasticky, Rubbermaid giant things that kind of looked like the thing Oscar the Grouch lived in, that you would drag out to the curb. And then in a lot of places they had been replaced with a thing that has wheels, and is a little bit squarer. And I think that's
in this country we refer to those as wheelie bins.
Wheelie bins, okay. And I think the wheelie bin, guess what? It's a lot easier to drag something to the curb when it has wheels. I think it also has a specific shape to it that accommodates. Some places have a trash place or a recycling place where like the bin hooks into it and like a robot arm dumps it in it. I don't actually think we have that in my neighborhood. I think there's just guys who grab it and throw stuff in the back of it. At least the trash is definitely that way. But yeah, versus a dumpster is a big metal box that's big, that's probably as tall as a person and might have wheels in each corner, but is not, is basically a stationary object, and only like a big truck would come and pick it up and tilt the stuff into the back of the trash truck and take it away. And we would call that a dumpster, not a bin. Or
I mean, I think
like
we don't tend to have, like most things in this country, we're at a slightly smaller scale. Like we don't have the vast, I think of like a dumpster, and I imagine it as it's a fairly, like about twice the size of the biggest thing you would get on the streets here, usually full of raccoons. That seems to be
they do like they like that.
And we don't.
Oh man, I'm having another dumpster flashback to a different job. Guys, I had some great jobs when I was.
Did you have to clear a dumpster full of raccoons?
No, I did have a job. This was before that other job. Oh God, this is the stuff they make. They make young people do to build character / not do it themselves. So before that job, I had a job at a grocery store, which was usually a pretty good job, especially by the standards of a teenager who could mainly only get jobs that related to kind of manual labor. And I say it was a pretty good job because like the pay was better than minimum wage. It was inside. It was air conditioned. I was specifically in the dairy section, which was not just air conditioned, but cold. But there was one day a month that was very unpleasant, which was, I don't know if this is true for all parts of the grocery store, but it was certainly true for the dairy section. Basically, the grocery store is allowed to return a certain amount of products that they don't sell to get some fraction of money back. And I was given the job, or at least occasionally given the job once a month, where I would be given a shopping cart, or I don't know if you would call that a trolley. Is that what you call it?
I would call that a trolley.
A trolley. This is a different kind of trolley problem. I would be given a trolley full of the dairy items that did not sell that week or that month, I believe, that were expired, and a box cutter. And my job was to sit by a dumpster and cut off the barcode from each item and then throw the item minus the barcode into a dumpster. And you could imagine sitting in, again, summer job, sitting in warm temps next to a dumpster, cutting UPC codes off of, expired dairy items, especially very specific memory of all of the, yogurt. Like it wasn't, some things like gallon milk, not a big deal because it's a big thing. I don't even remember if I was doing it with liquids, but you'd have like a stack of yogurt cartons and you were cutting the little barcode off of each individual, single serving yogurt thing. And, in the heat, and the main thing was the smell was unique. So,
that's. Are you sure this wasn't some kind of Truman Show style?
I don't know. A lot of the things I feel like I was asked to do as a 14 to 17-year-old in the workplace did feel like some kind of form of hazing. I built character, James. Think about how much character I wouldn't have if I hadn't done these things. So.
This is true.
Yeah. So
I'm
glad we've cleared up this very important bin situation.
Yes.
So.
Bin / dumpster / wastebasket. Yeah, I think my first job kind of was programming an old so
there were no dumpsters, is what you're telling me.
there were no. Well, I will leave it to you to decide whether this is a better or worse thing. My parents and my, I guess, next door neighbor was a professor of physiology, and what they did was they experimented on rat brains.
What? Okay, important science.
But basically it was, we would like to understand how
rats brain,
how neurons and brain pieces work.
Okay, yeah, some science. That sounds legitimate science. That doesn't sound made up at all.
So what we will do is we will take said bits of brain and we will connect them to a large computer, and we will send signals in one end and see what signals come out the other end of these things, and thus we will understand how rats brain. And I was working there for a summer with my cousin. I will
assuming
stress
you were more on the computer side and less on the
side. I
I
was not doing wet work.
Okay. Yeah.
I was purely writing Fortran. My one time in my life I've written Fortran, and I can't honestly remember what I was doing, but it was like, make a program that you would take series of inputs, process, and do things with them. And that was my first job. But as I say, I was generally unconnected to the brain side of it, and I got paid in pizza.
Which that's always a sign of a legitimate real job.
Yes. I mean, it was a summer thing. It wasn't like I was like an intern in the rat brain business. And after that, I worked.
What was more formative to you being a successful programmer, being rat brain adjacent or having a Commodore 64?
I mean, I think the Commodore 64, because I don't buy rat brains off eBay and display them on my shelves in a kind of.
You could. That would be a very different kind of. You could be a side character in a Guillermo del Toro movie.
And my second job was, I was working in the cash room of a Tower Records in Glasgow, or the Tower Records in Glasgow. A frog. It's the brown frog.
Apparently, this one's green.
Is it green?
Yeah.
Well, we've proved that I have a problem with.
Apparently, there is a thing. Somebody tweeted about this. That one of the Lego designers loves the little, and it's just this little one-piece Lego frog, and so they're used everywhere in sets. And this is not the first one. There was specifically in the big part up here, there is a golden one behind a secret passage, and so loves to pepper the displays with frogs as their kind of secret mascot.
The orchid that you can buy, the botanicals
yes,
one,
it's all frogs, right?
It's all pink frogs.
Yeah.
There is a brown frog later in this set. I know.
Okay. Oh, spoilers.
Spoilers for a brown frog.
Frogs. You had a Lego frog, right? Because did you, in the sets you made for Total Party Kill, is there an actual frog, Lego frog in the place where they saw a frog in a tree? Spoilers for a episode of Total Party Kill we played 5 or 6 years ago.
It wasn't 5. Was it 5 or 6?
It's quite a while.
I mean,
you may not want to do the math.
I mean, I'm thinking when the things were released is quite different to when we actually recorded them.
Yes.
Well, I can work it out because it's when I started writing my dice app. So whenever that came out, that will tell me how old it is. And I think with that must mean it's 4 years this summer.
That's not as bad.
No, 4 years is like yesterday.
Yeah, that's
5 years sounds like a long time.
Yeah.
No, my second job was working in Tower Records, in the money room, which basically meant I was in a locked vault. And by vault, I mean there was like a vaguely locked door.
Is there a significant amount of cash at Tower Records such that they have a dedicated room for money?
Well, I think most shops have this.
Okay. The camera store I worked at definitely did not, and maybe should have. I mean, I remember, and there were things, so I was selling digital video cameras when that was a thing. I worked in the warehouse for a while before they let me work in sales, but this was early 2000s. Mini DV, digital video, was a very big thing back then. It was slowly moving from the just a thing professionals used into a thing that consumers could do. But we would sell some stuff that was multi-thousands of dollars. And this is, I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble here, but there is a thing known for, one of the reasons you go to like a mom and pop store is that they can be very accommodate. You can haggle about the price. There were people that wanted to do that, and there would be places that would give you discounts for paying in cash. And there would be times where somebody would pay for $3,000 worth of equipment in cash, and like it would just go into the pocket of the guy who owned the store, and it was like, gosh, I hope that he doesn't lose that. And presumably he's gonna go, he puts it somewhere later, but it's like
into a mattress or whatever.
Well, or hopefully into a bank account or a lockbox or somewhere more protected than a pocket.
There was a significant amount of money that these stores would do. I mean, like CDs and things were, not cheap, but they were, 10, 20 pounds or whatever.
Okay, so there's enough cash that there is a dedicated room for cash.
But what the room did was we would prepare the tills, which was like the thing that would go into the till. So there was a tray.
There's a plastic tray
and the plastic tray, you would fill it with a certain amount of starter cash.
Yes.
So for doing change things, because this was in a time before Apple Pay and credit cards were. I mean, they were certainly present, but there was a lot more cash payments going on, and then. At the end of each person's shift, their till would come down. We would count the money in the thing, and then that would be compared to the amount of money that should be in the thing,
based on what was rung up.
And then we would, if there was a discrepancy, we would be narcs, and we would have to inform that this person was possibly removing the odd note from the till.
Or bad at math. Yeah.
But and the thing was, because we didn't want to be narcs, we had a secret box in our office, which was sometimes tills would be over, and if a till was over, you would take the excess and that would be placed in the box.
And we don't worry about
And then if a till was under sometime, you would fetch the money out of the box and balance it out. So it was kind of like a
Yeah. I'm sure this was not official store policy, but
it worked. And so we didn't want to be the people who got our brothers and sisters on these shop floor fired, because that would
and people make mistakes. I mean, humans are not going to be 100%.
Yeah, and there is also the chance that we made a mistake when filling the thing in the first place. So
so it's it's not going to be
where it got more complicated. Was and let's say that the store was not in Glasgow, the store was somewhere else. And it was.
I mean, I think we may be talking about a story that someone told you, and
that person, I heard,
and that person is dead.
But let's say that the manager would borrow money from the safe.
Is this an Empire Records situation? Is that what we're getting into?
Well, it was what would happen was, like, money would be borrowed from the safe to pay for things. Now, I don't know what the things are. You can imagine in your head what somebody in the music business might be spending money on. And
donations to charity, no doubt.
Donations to charity, to independent pharmaceutical distribution, whatever. I didn't name names. I can't be sued. And then it would come to the end of the month, and or was it week? I can't remember. And we would need to have everything would need to balance. So like we would have the people arrive who would take away the tens of thousands or whatever that were in the safe. I mean,
and especially I'm assuming Tower Records, it's a chain, not a franchise, right?
Yeah, it's a chain.
So there's somebody who's coming to check stuff out every now and then.
There's corporate
there are other
oversight.
Yes, there's other chains, for example, that might operate like, I think if you own a Wendy's, it's your Wendy's, and the corporate only shows up if things get really, really bad, because it's literally just your Wendy's. But yeah, okay, so corporate shows up at some periodic interval to take the money or check the books or something.
I mean, it was generally like some very heavily armed. I was going to say heavily armed, but that's not true because no guns. Heavily armored security people would turn up and take away bags of money. But everything needed to balance, and if we would occasionally need to ask the manager's assistant to could you get them to give us the money back? Because otherwise
that must have been a fun conversation to
yes. And there was a time, so like one of the things that we would do, there was a lot of data entry generally as part of this job, and forms that needed to be filled in 90% the same each time, and then a date or an amount or whatever. And one of the things I did was these were all done on there was like I think 2 computers in the entire place, and connected to those computers were terminals, your sort of green screen old school VT100 terminals. But those terminals were smart enough that you could do keyboard macros and stuff. So I worked out how to automate vast amounts of our job so that we could just sit around.
I was going to say, did you tell anyone that you had automated vast
well, I think like there was at some point, like I'd done this and everybody was very happy about it. And I think at some point it might have come out and I was not the most popular person, because it was like I had automated away large chunks of our job. But because I was the computer expert, I mean, I was
a computer guy.
I was the person that could make the computers do magical things. When £3,000 went missing, I was suspect number 1.
Oh gosh.
And I will say it was not me who took £3,000, and I don't know what exactly.
Wait, 3,000 or 300?
3,000.
£3,000, which is a lot of money, right? That's like, I forget what the comparison is for the US right now.
I mean, it's about 1-to-1 at this point.
Is it? Okay. It's thousands
close
of dollars.
Enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
And okay. Also, who I don't know what the money of that day was, but yes.
It was still to I don't know, whatever I was, 16-year-old, that would be a vast amount of money. But
yes, many weeks pay.
Yes. I was not I don't know if there was a thief or if there was a some kind of
or the manager who borrowed stuff.
A manager who needed to pay back some like
independent contract.
Yes. But yeah, and I can't remember how. I think I explained the fact that it would be impossible for me to have done the thing that they said that I did.
Well, you would have walked out with cash, right?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a vast amount of searching us, I will say. And if one wanted to steal money, it wouldn't have been too hard. Although I don't think we ever had anyone like an actual armed raid. I think there was one after I left. I don't know if it was an armed raid, but because guns are not very common here. But it wouldn't be impossible for masked thieves to burst in and say, give us all the money in the safe, because it would be worth it, especially if you did it on a, there'd been a long weekend of sales or something, and there had been a bank holiday, so the money hadn't been collected for 4 days. And then
I was going to say, that never happened in my retail history. And then I remember it did happen once, and it was much less it was more of a snatch and grab. It was like, and it was one of those, like, I think it was like the Friday before Christmas kind of deals where there was like nobody there, and they basically, somebody just grabbed a $3,000 camera and just ran. Um, and they made it away, but we never had anyone who like showed up at the register.
I think there was a tail, and I can't remember if it was before or after. And I did work there at multiple time periods because I did a summer job and then I did Christmas and things. But I think there was somebody might have turned up with a shotgun at some point. And I mean, like, I am not going to, as a 16-year-old, you know, put myself between a large multinational corporation and a man with a shotgun.
I think that's even one of those situations where like they don't want you to do that. They're like, you know, James, you're killing our insurance rates here. Please don't.
But yeah, it never. I think because when you're young and you know, feel faintly invulnerable and stuff, I never really considered the possibility of the fact that I sat in a room with large amounts of money and that this might be not great for my overall life expectancy. But
well, I'm glad you survived.
Oh, me too. Tower Records, however, did not.
Oh, do they not exist in any form anymore? Are they completely?
So there are
there are a bunch of them. There used to, I will say, there are none in the Boston area anymore, and there used to be a bunch.
I think most of them went away. I think possibly all of them in the US and the UK. There is one, I think, still in Dublin, and there is one in Tokyo.
Okay.
And I think these are just, they never got the memo from head office and just keep going. But I would not like to be in the business of selling physical media, particularly music.
See Tony's earlier plans to liquidate all of his DVDs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think the kids are not interested in your physical media. Unless it is wildly overpriced vinyl records.
No, yeah. We do still have, I mean, there are I would say there are several within walking distance of me record shops that just specialize in vinyl records. And I mean, I think they're kind of, they're specialty places, and I can't tell. Those are those are those shops. There's not a lot of them anymore. I feel like, especially in the Boston area, things are too expensive. I feel like when I was a teen and a 20-something, there were more shops that lived at this thing where of intersection of like, is this really a store, or are you just a hoarder and you like rented a store? And especially, I will say, I remember when I lived in Western Mass, there were several comic stores that were not really stores, and they had that thing where like if you tried to buy something, they were like, oh yeah, I guess we can figure out how to do that, but mainly this is just a, like, you know, like I've inherited a storefront from an uncle and I own a lot of comic books and I just want to sit here and read them all day. You know?
So there was a comic store in Glasgow not far from me called Future Shock, which was very much that kind of, you know, accidental store / hoarder thing. And I believe the owner died, and the rent, I think, had been paid by the owner's mother or something. I'm not sure of the exact details. But that store stands empty a good 10, 15 years later. Like with some of the signage still up. I think it currently says Future Hawk. And I don't know what has happened with that, because it's, you know, relatively prime real estate. But I can't imagine there is anybody still there. That it could be it's a 10-year thing, and after 10 years it reverts to the Crown or whoever. But yeah, there's a few stores like that around, and there were more small record stores, but they've gradually went away. Bookstores went away as well.
Oh,
they came back a bit. You know, we've got a small bookstore near me, and a few other things. Actually, there's 2 bookstores near me. Don't work out where I live, people. And that's kind of nice. But the thing that I've discovered with the smaller bookstores is generally I'm looking for something that is fairly specialist. And if you're looking in a subgenre of sci-fi, it's not going to be there.
I always feel and I would say the version of that I frequent is there are two local comic book stores in walking distance from me, one in either direction. One's maybe not quite maybe outside of what it would be traditionally walking distance, but I used to live closer to it, so I had an affinity for it, so I'd make the trek there. And I will say I've basically given up on physical comics, which I feel bad about because I would like comic stores to exist, but I am out of space. This is my main bookshelf full of graphic novels. It's not the only bookshelf full of graphic novels, and especially during the pandemic, I just switched to buying digital stuff and actually reading a lot of stuff digitally from my local library, which I thought was great. But I do feel bad every now and then when I hop into one of those places and I ask for something and they don't have it, and they say, "But we can order it for you," and it's always like, "Oh, but I mean, if I can't get it today, I can go home and order it from a place that will get it faster
I
and
can order it while standing talking to you on my phone. Yes, and I don't like
sorry.
I don't want to do that, and I do try. But there is that sort of like, I would like this thing, like I finished a book in a series, I wish to read the next book in a series.
And you don't provide that? That's like your only thing that you do.
Sorry. It is difficult, but I mean, most of there are very few, I would say, kind of independent like bookshops left, but there are some big ones, and it's like, well, I want you as a general thing to continue exist. But what I do is not actually going to make a vast amount of difference in the corporate structure of things, but I do try. I've been, as has been discussed on this program,
whatever this is, this Lego stream. Yes.
Previously, I am, with my eye troubles, I find reading off screens to be difficult. So I've been reading physical books back again.
This is the weird thing where with my eye troubles, I've given up on reading physical things and read only off of digital because I can crank up the text size. So, isn't getting old great, James?
I mean, like, as we've established, you're a good 10 years younger than me. And let me tell you, the 10 years ahead of you, if you think the gallbladder was bad, this is just the start of an adventure.
You're still waiting on yours, right?
No.
Yeah.
It hasn't exploded yet, but
that's the key. Let me tell you.
I mean, ideally, don't have any of your organs explode. This is
it's not an experience I endorse.
My appendix was eaten, but that was a different thing. I went into hospital with an appendix. I came out without an appendix. My appendix was not removed at any point in this trip, so it was just something else that was going wild in my insides. Decided it would eat my appendix for fuel.
I didn't really know that was a thing that they did, so that's exciting.
That was it was a what is the name of it? I'm not gonna I will not turn this into Tony and James's medical things, but yes,
so gracefully.
I had something, shall we say, of the same level of severity to you, that I did spend 3 weeks in hospital and then 6 months recovery for.
People don't do that. Is my
it's not good
experience. I mean, unless you need to, and then absolutely do it.
Yes, I mean, if you can do it in a country with healthcare, that is always preferred. But generally things that takes many months to recover from.
Not good. Not good.
Where was I going with this? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
That's memory. That's the other thing that goes. So the bookshops. Yes, that's where we were. I like the I don't know what the feel of bookshops, you know, the sort of the going in and the looking at stuff and the judging by covers and all the things. But the actual I wish this extremely obscure thing that hasn't been in print for a while, and I would like it in the next 24 hours, please. Does not really seem compatible with brick and mortar stores. But I have been motoring through many books. Oh, have you seen the D&D movie?
I have not seen the D&D movie. Have you seen the D&D movie?
I have seen the D&D movie. I saw it last Monday in a cinema on 11 o'clock on a Monday morning, not in the center of town, and I managed to see it with 5 other people in the cinema, one of whom was my wife. So that was at the level of like occupancy that I could cope with going to the cinema.
Yeah, I still haven't been to see many things in the cinema. I'm trying to think of the last movie I saw in the cinema. I think it might have been The Batman. But I would like to see it, and you know, and some of that is just the inertia at this stage of things where it's not part of my routine. So I may just wait for it. But I feel like almost everyone I have talked to about it has a positive review. And let's see if that continues. How did you feel about the D&D movie, James?
I enjoyed it. I would not say it is high art, but it was entertaining. For a 2.5 hour movie, it did not feel like a 2.5 hour movie.
That's a good, I feel like that's a strong endorsement. I feel like I heard a lot of comparisons to Marvel movies in a positive way. So perhaps even, you know, earlier Marvel movies.
I would
fun action, you know.
I would relate it to the Fast and the Furious movies.
Oh, okay.
And that it has a similar,
which are not that different from.
I mean, yes, but it has a similar amount of, well, a similar amount of Michelle Rodriguez, but,
yeah,
but a similar amount of people in immense peril in situations which they would clearly die in that don't. It feels, there's a lot of it that feels like people making a lot of bad roles and then, you know, rolling a natural 20 at a critical
which is like
moment.
You know, I think those are the moments that people remember from D&D. You know, is like, and it's always tricky because, you know, and I say this as somebody who runs a lot of adventures and prepares a lot of adventures. You know, there's Dungeons and Dragons has this, you know, there's what you plan, and then there's what you improvise in reaction to what players say and do. But then there's also the chaos element of the dice. And that chaos element of the dice is a powerful, I think, emotional component to D&D. You know, sometimes it's I don't know, maybe it's fun for some people, but I think some players, when you get to the big bad boss and you take them out and it doesn't feel like a challenge, like it's a little underwhelming. To me, it's a little bit more, I think the really memorable moments are the things where it looked like things weren't going to come together, and then the dice went our way and we were successful and we won, are the particularly exciting moments. Capturing that in a narrative is key, right? It's like you fail and then you succeed, right?
And I think they do that. And also there's things like there's at the start of the movie, and I'll not go into too many details, but there is a jailbreak, and the method that they employ feels like something that, you know, somebody would have said, okay, I'm going to do this, and cue dungeon master with head in hands.
Oh god.
It's like, okay, give me, you know, athletics check, whatever, and they succeed. And I liked it. It's funny. If you don't like Chris Pine, it's quite Chris Piney. But
are there people that don't like Chris Pine?
I don't know. But
has science wrought that now?
I feel he is. He's certainly amongst the top of the Chris's.
Yeah.
He's certainly not. He's not at the bottom for me. But yeah, it's fun, and there's some neat cameos that if you are a child of the 80s, you'll realize what's happening. And I think it is worth your time, and I think it would actually be nice on a big screen because it's, stupid big action flick rather than it depends on what size your television is, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, my review of Todd Vaziri's second Dungeons and Dragons movie is...
Oh, poor Todd. Don't please the first Dungeons and Dragons movie and the direct to DVD / direct to streaming sequels that came out around that era. I've seen maybe not all of them, but several of them, and they're none of them are good movies. Some of them might be good bad. The first one does have Jeremy Irons like being over the top and chewing some cardboard, but also perhaps looking like, I don't want to be doing this.
I mean, to be fair, this has Hugh Grant looking like he's not entirely certain what he signed up for.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, he at least chews scenery, and it's a good cast. I would like to see another one. I would like to see this.
Oh, that's good.
Do well enough to be a franchise.
And I guess I have not followed. Is it doing well?
I don't know, because I don't like. I guess haven't picked up on it. I've heard lots of people saying it's good, but what I don't know is whether that translates into people actually going to see it, because I think it's like, Marvel movies will ever make $900 million, and
then there's the thing where it's like, oh, but we wanted it to make $950 million, therefore it's a failure.
Yes.
So yeah.
I mean, I think the Shazam movie has done particularly badly, the second one. But yeah,
I was not. I saw the first Shazam movie. It's fine. I think they're not for me. Yeah, DC.
I mean, yeah, we like Batman related properties. I also like Wonder Woman related properties. But yeah, particularly Harley Quinn related properties. But that is in some ways a subgenre of Batman, but in some ways not.
Yeah. I did, in the DC related spaces, trailer for the Blue Beetle movie. Looks really fun. It kind of looks like the most Marvel of movies we've seen yet.
Iron Man and Venom had a baby.
Yeah, and I like the Blue Beetle character, Jaime Reyes. He's a very Spider-Man-y kind of character, and so they should make a fun movie with him. And that's like, hey, make fun movies. People like fun movies. That will be, instead of what you've been doing, not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I'll say about the D&D is it is not the gritty, Zack Snyder's Dungeons and Dragons, whatever.
I don't know. Does anyone want that? I mean, maybe somebody, but I don't. So.
I mean, aren't they making like a Warhammer 40K TV series or something?
That, and I will say my knowledge of Warhammer 40K is very secondhand. I've got a lot of friends who are either or were very into it. I think it's an interesting, it's a very powerful aesthetic to the world. It is a thing that has been cribbed from like very, very heavily, like the amount of I don't know what credit, say, Blizzard and the StarCraft games owe to 40K is seems extremely high to me. Clearly parts of it are inspired by relatively earlier sci-fi tropes, like, I don't know, probably Dune and certainly Starship Troopers and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly been incredibly influential. I always worry a little bit about the 40K stuff, about there's the stuff that's intended to be like hyperbolic and ironic, and
it's supposed to be a satire of and space fascists.
Do the people understand that space fascism is intended to be satire?
Yeah,
it's always the worrisome thing,
I mean, it's the same with Judge Dredd. I think, as a property.
You British people and your fascism,
in our ironic tales of fascism that some people start
tales
to think.
Of fascism, Yeah.
I mean, particularly these days, it's kind of a concern. But
it's a concern.
And yeah, I mean, I like Judge Dredd, and I grew up reading all the Judge Dredd comics and stuff, so I kind of got the fact that he was the goody, but he also wasn't.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah, with the 40K stuff, again, I'm also secondhand. I may have had miniatures and things, but it was never anything that I really knew the story for. I just liked the visuals.
Yeah. I never one of my younger brothers was very into it. I remember he had a seasonal job at like the Christmas season retail job at the Games Workshop store. There was one near enough to our house. I think he only worked there for like one season, maybe more than that. And he literally, they gave the employees a discount, and I think he put every dollar that he earned back into, immediately converted into miniatures. So and he had a significantly I think he had several armies of different 40K races. I don't like I'm gonna get in trouble. Surely he must have had some Space Marines. I think he had some Tyranids. I don't remember what other things he had. He had a lot of miniatures, and I will say he had, and I'm sure many collectors have this, but the very small set of my brother, I think, was pretty good at painting them, painted assembled squads. He had a couple of those. Very large number of assembled and glued together unpainted, and then several things that were like boxes of pieces that had not ever been assembled and probably are still in an attic and never will be.
Yeah, I mean, I never had the time, patience, or skill, or now eyesight to paint.
Yeah, one of my friends has just gotten into 40K, and they have an Instagram where they post stuff, and this is someone who went to art school and did sculpture and things like that, and is I feel like is channeling all of that ability into 40K, and they also do a lot of cosplay stuff and crafting and things like that. And to me, it's like a magic skill, because I am so bad at doing anything. I mean, that is part of the appeal to Legos of me, is I don't have I buy the Legos and everything's in the box. I don't have to I mean, to them, they're doing this kind of elaborate problem solving, and it's kind of amazing, but it is so far beyond me and my abilities, where they're
I mean,
yeah.
Like with the Lego stuff, at least you can build the thing that you're supposed to build, or you can build things out of your brain.
Yes, that's it though. But I need extremely structured, literal building blocks.
Yes. I want things to align nicely.
Yes, I need a grid.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I think that is why I do computer programming as well, because it is much the same thing. It's just slotting together. It's like Lego, but you can also build your own Lego bricks if you so desire. But yeah, I have some artistic things. I did the TPK Lego stuff, which was, I think it was pretty good.
I think so.
But that was very much well, let's see what I can do, and if it's bad, nobody's gonna care.
And then it wasn't, and people loved it. So
yeah. And I still have vast amounts of gray bricks
from all the walls. Yep.
Things. But I just don't have the skill or patience of that. I mean, there's things like that like music. I kind of play synthesizers and make music, but not to any level that I would actually.
Not for other people.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, I had guitars as well, and similar things. It's like I am quite happy to sit in my bedroom / office.
This is for me, not for other people. Yeah.
This is just my James makes noise now thing. But yeah, the cosplay stuff, I've been watching the Star Wars Celebration streams this weekend.
I'm a little behind on that. I've watched the trailers. We covered some of the trailers on A Complicated Profession, including an episode that's not out yet, but should be out soon. But yeah, so I've watched some trailers, but I have.
There's been some good stuff like that. So the daily live streams, they don't stream the good panels.
I know.
So you didn't get the one with all the sneak peek trailers like the Marvel San Diego Comic-Con type stuff. You just don't get the things. And then 24 hours later, you can watch you can watch the TikTok video that somebody's put up. That
I did watch somebody's YouTube video that was like stills of a trailer that can't release, and we're only releasing stills so that hopefully this won't get taken down, and I'm sure it then later gets taken down.
But there have been some panels that I watched that were entertaining. There was what was the first one that I watched? I can't remember. But there was a Clone Wars one, which was quite good. With all the sort of with Dave Filoni looking actually emotional, thinking about things, and like on the verge of tears at some point.
See, I like Dave Filoni. It makes me sad that I guess there's a big chunk of the internet, or at least maybe a loud chunk of the internet that doesn't like him.
I mean, like the fact that the Ahsoka series just looks like Series 5 of Rebels.
Yeah. I mean, to me, is that a problem, or is that a feature or a bug?
I think that's a feature. I mean, I liked Rebels, and I would like to see an end to that. To that story. I'd like to see more of that story. And seeing Chopper and all these droids are people. But the Clone Wars one was a good panel with like the Ashley Epstein.
I always forget, but I know who you're talking about. The voice actor for animated Ahsoka before live action Ahsoka.
She was very entertaining, and the one man who does like, is it D. Bradley Baker who does
Bradley Baker is all the clones,
and if you've watched Bad Batch, he's like doing like 5 or 6 characters in that show. And he does that very well.
Are you current on Bad Batch?
I am current on everything.
Everything.
I'm current on all Star Wars.
All Star Wars media that is available.
Yes.
We just did a wrap up for season 2 of Dan and Kat and I. For folks who don't know, do A Complicated Profession as a Star Wars podcast that Dan started. And we've been covering The Mandalorian episode by episode, and we did The Bad Batch, which is one of the animated shows, in 2 chunks, like the first half of the season, second half of the season. And we just did our second half of the season wrap up, and I would say the general consensus is second half of the season much stronger than the first half of the season, and we were real excited by it. And I don't have maybe they've announced, James. I'm assuming it will be it's going to be renewed. I don't know if they've officially said that yet.
I can't remember if they've said specifically for that. I mean, there was a lot of announcements that came out of this.
Yes, there's so many announcements and trailers.
And like they had the cast of The Acolyte, which was a show that wasn't exactly on my radar, but it's like
and I went from like, I don't care about this to like, why isn't this available yet? So The Acolyte is the show that is set in the High Republic, which for people who don't care about Star Wars, sorry. There is the Old Republic, which is a time when there are some video games set. There is the High Republic, which I think has really only been explored in comic books so far, probably some novels as well. And then there is the time known as the Fall of the Jedi. Some people get angry at that. That's the time of the prequels when, the Jedi go from ruling everything to basically not existing in a matter of years. So that is an era that has been heavily explored. And then the Age of Rebellion, when all the original media and later stuff. But so this is going to be our first big thing set in a very different era of Star Wars. And what is exciting to me is the cast looks very impressive to it. The person involved in making it is one of the people that was involved in making the show Russian Doll, which was on Netflix, which was very weird and interesting.
And includes one of the cast members from Russian Doll.
Yes. And so the idea that person wants to make a Star Wars is like, tell me more about this.
It seems to be more sort of Chinese martial artsy, and it's got Jason Mendoza from The Good Place in it, and it has.
So he is now a Star Wars and a Star Trek person, because he's in. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of other Jason. Never mind, who plays a minor character in The Good Place, not Jason Mendoza. Apologies to the Jasons of the world.
But it also has, if you've watched any of the Dark Materials TV show, it has the Lyra from that, who I absolutely did not recognize. And I was like, who is this person? I looked her up and she's like, oh, apparently people get older.
They do. I know. Approximately 1 year at a time. It's wild.
And yeah, it's good. And it's got I can't remember his name, from Squid Game, and a bunch of other people in it. It's like, oh, this actually looks like it could be an interesting thing. And yeah, they announced like 3 films.
Yes.
And one of which is like seems to be the sort
apology tour for Daisy Ridley.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Daisy Ridley gets to run a Jedi Academy, and it's like, okay, and it's set after all the films, so it's like this could just be a continuation of the sequel films, and I'm quite happy about that. And there's one which seems to be Dave Filoni is doing a film, which is the Marvel Endgame style. Every character from his TV shows will turn up.
I hope that's okay. I mean, his TV shows are, again, I like Dave Filoni, but they're a little all over the place. They're not always cohesive.
I mean, I will say that the most recent episode of The Mandalorian was not the most cohesive episode.
I like it. It is a divisive episode, though.
I liked it. The tonal shifts in that show from episode to episode it feels like the Clone Wars, which is not really surprising. Oh, that was the thing with the Clone Wars panel. It was the Clone Wars 15th anniversary panel, because the Clone Wars started 15 years ago. And as they said, we started making it 18 years ago. So
so we're all wild.
They're all a little older. And I can't remember what the third film was. Because it was like 3 different time periods.
Yes.
So it was like one before, one with the Mandalorian time frame, and one after. But yeah, I mean, it's never a bad time to be a Star Wars fan, really.
No, we have a lot right now, and I'm enjoying most of it. Sometimes it's a little unclear what they're doing, and sometimes they make some weird choices, but in general, I'm enjoying the Star Wars. So
yeah, yes, I will say that the guest stars in the most recent episode were surprising.
I did not know they were coming, and I was like, what is happening now? Is what I'm seeing? Am I seeing what I'm seeing? But I enjoyed it. You can listen to Tony and Dan and Kat talk about the whole episode for about an hour if you check the Complicated Profession feed very soon.
I will do that.
So, James, I think my voice is fading. It's been about 90 minutes. I have assembled 2 bags worth of the castle. I haven't really been talking about it because we've been just chatting away. This was one of the things where it's like, I'm not entirely sure what I'm building. It's obviously like, so I know that it's going to be part of the castle that's going to hook on here. I don't exactly know how it will hook on, though. Actually, that looks pretty good like that. And this is clearly like some kind of subterranean foundation. At first it started out with well, clearly this is the moat, and there's this neat little cavern room here. There were 2 pieces that are I'm not sure how I can easily show you. There, little hanging bats upside down. There's another, they had one of these in this room also, and maybe actually it's gonna click right onto the side of it. It seems like secret adventure room. With like bow and arrow and shield and sword on the wall. And I recognize from other Lego sets the telltale sign of this black piece here is going to be the base of a tree, and these are the roots here and things like that. But yeah, it's I enjoyed clipping these together. This one, it was like, I'm still not entirely sure what I'm making because it doesn't look like a thing yet. But hopefully in a couple steps, I'm pretty sure it's going to snap on like that.
Tune in a couple of weeks to find out what this is.
Yeah, to find out what is Tony building. Hint, it's a castle, but find out which pieces of it Tony is building. So, and I also built, for people who missed the beginning of the stream, a little mini Boba Fett spaceship, which was a delight. So
Yes, and it can land in the courtyard of your castle.
It can.
To
provide security. So,
well, yes. Mandalorians will work for anyone.
It's true. If you've got the credits, they'll do the job. So, well, I think I want to wrap up here before my voice fades. Thanks to folks who are watching on the stream or watching on YouTube later. I will remind you, I am still unfortunately unemployed. If you feel like buying me a cup of coffee or the digital equivalent thereof, you could go to givetonymoney.fun. But no pressure. Yeah.
No, there's pressure. You should do
it. Whatever. James, you got any final parting moments?
I don't know. I mean, go to pcalc.fun for all your
PCalc needs, your calculator needs. So
yes.
All right.
But buy Tony coffee first.
Bye, nerds.
Bye.
And now I casually roll over here to where my computer is.